in this workshop, I'm going to talk about really identifying intuition, how to tell the difference between intuition and impulse or emotion. Guys, this is really important, okay? So the first thing I want to give you guys as a quick little tip is to practice playing with your intuition on the little things. Obviously, it's really easy. So this is an example of a little thing, and then I'm going to give an example of a big thing. So the little thing was a little over a year and a half ago. I was driving home, and I was on kind of a schedule with this. I had my son, it was time for his nap time, and I had some work stuff and whatever, and I just had this inspiration. It was like, stop at Costco. I was like, what? I'm not going to stop at Costco. And then I was like, fine. Like, I'm going to follow this. So I pulled into Costco. I parked. I jumped out. I had my kids. I'm like wrangling them into a cart. And I hear someone from across the parking lot. They're like, Nancy Ray. And they're like waving me down. And they're like running over. And it was a past client. And she was incredibly emotional. It's like she needed to see me. She needed a hug. She needed some encouragement. And so then she left. And I was just thinking about, I was living in Boise at the time, and I was just thinking about, of all the places, the divine timing to be there at that exact few seconds. Like, there was probably a 20-second window, right, where she would see me as she was pulling out. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. So I kind of checked in. I was like, all right, well, was that why I was supposed to come? Can I leave now? Do I have to stay? Or can I, head home? And the intuition was like, no, go inside. So I was like, all right. So I go inside. And I'm not kidding you, I just barely walked through the door, showed them my little card, and this guy starts yelling at me from across Costco. And he's like, Nancy Ray! And he runs over. And I could tell that he'd been kind of down that day. Like, he just sort of had this gloomy feeling. And this guy's a professional magician. That's what he does, is he does all these corporate shows. And so I was like, hey, how's it going? And this is my little girl. And he started doing magic for her. And it just lit him up to do his craft, right? And to do this magic for her. And she's giggling and thinks it's so crazy and so cool and all this stuff. And then he leaves. And I kept feeling this flow. You're on the path. It's divine that you're there. And I was like, this was so cool. And then I checked in again. And I was like, all right, do I get to go home now? And the voice was like, no. So I'm like, okay. I didn't think I needed anything there. But then I walked around and realized something, that we were out of at home, bought it, and went home. So that's a story of following intuition on the little things. And those things tend to be a little bit easier. So now I'm going to tell you one that was recent that actually involves Miss Kim. That's so, so interesting. So a couple of times throughout the last few weeks, most of the time when I post online, it's very intuitive. And I'm just, asking, checking in, and then posting. And Kim actually reached out and messaged me and told me some really cool stories about how she found me, and kind of just some divine synchronicities, you guys, that are just so crazy, right? Her phone just turned on at one point, and all these different things where she knew she was meant to be a part of the next Masters Academy. Anyways, really cool. So I jumped on the phone with Kim just to talk with her, and just to kind of vibe it out, let her vibe me. And I was like, she's super cool. This would be amazing, And then I was like, we'll just see, And I told her, I said, I want you to just go really feel into it if it's the right step for you. So the next day, it's a Saturday. And I'm like, what feels good? What do I want to do today? And my intuition led me, through all these divine synchronicities, to discovering this psychic fair that was happening locally in this little town I'm in right now. And I was like, that's crazy. Okay, cool. So I went and I took my little girl, and I walk into this place, you guys, and there was this, I'm going to grab it actually. There was a bunch of framed art on the wall. These are prints of bigger art pieces, right? On the wall all over. And I saw this one and was like, oh, it spoke to me. And I saw it and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I picked it up and I looked at it. And once I picked it up and looked at it, I was like, it's not that cool. As a print, it's not nearly as cool as a print, right? It's like, I don't know. And I walk in the back room where there's all these booths, and there's this huge 4 foot by 6 foot original painting, this painting up on the wall. And I saw it and was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And this voice was in my head. It was like, I want that. And then this other voice was like, you fucking crazy? Right? What are we going to do with this huge painting? And then this other voice was like, that was meant for you. This is meant for you. This is your painting. I'm like, whatever. So I walk around, I go up to the painting, I look at it, it's gorgeous. It's this big, huge oil painting. And it's $6,000. I'm like, what? And this was the week, you guys, I don't know if a lot of you saw this, but I had $8,000 stolen out of my business account. And there's like, it was all tied up, you know, because they're going through all of the whatever to get it returned to my account and whatnot. And so I'm like, all right, that $8,000 is tied up. You know, I'm getting ready to host another retreat. I have payroll, like I have all these things. And I'm going to go buy a $6,000 painting. Like, that literally makes no sense, right? There's no way to actually justify that making sense. I'm like, we're getting ready to move to California, like all the things, right? And so I'm like, whatever. So I walk away, and it just keeps coming up. Like, it just keeps coming back. It just keeps coming back. It just keeps coming back. And I can't let it go. And the artist is there. And I just start having this conversation with her. And it's like this soul connection. I'm like, oh, she's amazing. Like, I feel like I know her, you know? And, you know, just hearing her story and who she is, like, she's just an amazing person. And she started telling me about the inspiration of this painting. And I'll just read what she wrote on the back of this, but she told me a lot more. But the spark inside cannot be dimmed. Life's water creates her form. Creation comes within her movement. And then she said, you know, anyways, I won't going to go too deep into it, but this woman is coming out of water, but she's also being tied down by the water. And she talks about how this woman feels like she has this burning purpose that's like pulling her forward, even though sometimes she just wants to leave the planet. She just like feels called to be here. Anyways, really cool. And it just spoke to me, like, as she was describing it. And she painted it in the year 2013, you guys, which was the year I was really coming out of my shell and actually launching my business. And it was at the end of that year that I finally did it. And that was the year that she painted it. It took her a whole year. And anyway, so just all these crazy synchronicities. I was like, this is amazing. And I told her, I said, I'm manifesting this painting, right? Which is just like a really weak commitment that's like, oh, it's in the universe's hands or whatever. So I walk away and I go into this other part of the thing, and it just keeps coming to me. It's like, go buy that painting, go buy that painting, go buy that painting. I'm like, I don't want to tie up $6,000 right now with like all of these other things, like overhead in my business and whatnot. I'm freaking out. So I'm like, okay. So I walk in and I go, all right, I want to talk to you about this painting. I said, would you be open to me doing it in 3 or 4 installments, like payments? She's like, absolutely. This painting actually is part of my spring show, which isn't till May. So she gets to stay here in the gallery anyways. I was like, perfect. Okay. And Kim doesn't even know this yet. But I just felt really good. Like, I knew it. And then after I'd put in the first payment and it was like confirmed, her and I sat there for a little while. And crazy thing, you guys, this painting, the name of this painting is Flow. Fucking crazy. So we're sitting there talking, and she gets really emotional. She starts crying, you guys, and she says, you know, I've been praying all week and asking for one of my big pieces to sell so that I can buy and invest in more canvas and in more paint. And she's been professionally painting for 15 years, but she's really still trying to make her big break, right? Like, get out there, get seen. She's like, you just funded my entire summer tour with my art, all the exhibits I'm going to go do. Is that fucking amazing? You guys, it's amazing. Chills, right? It was so cool. So I'm walking out of this event, and I'm just feeling so good about this decision. And I looked down at my phone, and almost to the minute that I committed to purchasing this painting, I received a message from Kim confirming she was going to be one of our 4 people in Masters Academy. Crazy! It's crazy. It's so cool. So you guys, following our intuition is scary, and it's sometimes tricky, but it's hands down like the most powerful. Yeah, Kim, it was crazy. I knew you would love this. I was hoping you'd be on live. Following our intuition is the key to accessing the magic. And by magic, I mean the crazy synchronicities of being in the right place at just the right time to see that person and to be a vessel. You know, I was able to be that woman's earth angel. Like, she prayed and called me into her space. And I showed up and got to be the facilitator of that. And you guys, money, resources, they're not ours. They're meant to flow through us. And our gifts are the same way. They're not meant to be owned and like possessed. They're meant to flow. Like my painting. So, I'm excited because the first time I bring Flo home, it will be to my new home in California. And I'll be able to hang her and display her there. And right now my intention is that my home was going to become a retreat center. So all of the retreats happening after about June of this year, I'm wanting to get a big enough estate, mansion place, if you will, to be able to host our retreats in my actual home, so that Flo can be there and be a part of that. And we can do some other really cool things if I do it out of my like home base space. So yes, some exciting, cool things, you guys. So I want you all